Hello and welcome to Monday's Total Soccer Show. I am Darryl Grove, and sitting across the table from me, the indomitable Taylor Rockwell.
Nicely done, my friend. Nicely done. Hello. Yes, I'm assuming that's a reference to Cameroon, who won the Africa Cup of Nations this past weekend.
They did.
Not going to talk about that so much today because we're going to have Timorlé on the show tomorrow to discuss it. He was there, so he's better suited to talk about that game.
He'll be our man in the know.
Yes. In the know, back in England, I believe, when we speak with him.
We did do a bit of a Twitter survey last night because there's so much soccer stuff happening. I basically said, parentheses non-binding, what would you like to hear us talk about on Monday's show? We had a suggestion for Arsenal-Chelsea, so we're going to talk about the goals, specifically Hazard's bit of magic, Hazard's hazardous goal. We're going to talk about specifically Romelu Lukaku. Nobody said, please talk about Everton-Bournemouth. People said, please talk about Romelu Lukaku because he got 4 goals, 1 assist. He is now the Premier League top scorer, and oh boy, there's a lot to talk about.
I think we also had somebody request an MLS team-by-team preview, and I think people are maybe giving us a little bit too much credit when it comes to how quickly we can throw a show together.
We need some lead time and some research time. But there will be an MLS, at least conference by conference preview, and very likely a USL one as well.
I like it.
But we're going to start with, we had some requests to take a second look at Jordan Morris's goal for the USA in the 1-0 win over Jamaica. A lot of people...
including a certain ginger friend.
Yeah, some high-profile people.
Yeah.
and a lot of listeners sort of thought we were maybe either too harsh on Jordan Morris or didn't give him enough credit.
Right.
Because we talked a lot about how maybe the return pass to Benny Feilhaber wasn't that good. So maybe we do need to look at this again. Well, we did look at it again, right?
We did.
We rewatched the video, I want to say another 3 or 4 times, which brings our grand total to many dozens.
Yes, and I think my conclusion is that I agree that we were probably a little too harsh on him, but I stand by the reasons why I was harsh on him.
Yeah, okay, if we are going to sort of own anything here, I would say maybe we focus too much on the little negative things, because we rewatch, and the more you watch it, the more you see little problems with it, but we let that maybe overshadow the fact that Jordan Morris accelerated away from defenders and buried it, hit the keeper, but scored for the United States and was a goal threat.
And I can post the photos if it comes to that. But I mean,
you got exhibits A, B, and C.
I do, because I maintain that if he has a left foot, if he's a little bit quicker, he takes the touch with his right foot, he plays it square with his left foot, Benny Feilhaber is in on goal and shoots that ball first time. Again, it's nitpicking because it ends in a goal, and it ends in a goal because after he plays that ball back to Benny Feilhaber, Jordan Morris makes a smart run. It's an aggressive run to get to the middle, but then he opens up and spreads to stretch the defense a little bit to keep himself open. He doesn't just drift in towards Benny Feilhaber the way some strikers might have done if they weren't so mindful of what's going on.
And if we're being a little bit negative, he does drift too close to Benny Feilhaber to begin with.
Right.
Because if you rewatch this, like we did, you can see Jordan Morris is pointing to his feet. He wants that pass from Dax McCarty. He hasn't recognised that Benny Feilhaber is actually in the much better position, right? So he kind of makes that mistake to begin with. He could have been on top of Feilhaber. But once the 1-2, 1-2, 1-2, 1-2 that they do is on, Morris does do a good job of then drifting to the right. And then my favourite part, if we're praising Jordan Morris, is that he makes the decision to accelerate a little bit to the right into space.
Right.
Because he's got that, I'm going to score a goal.
Yeah.
It's only Italian for some reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He's got that, I'm going to score mentality. It's like directness and pace and the thing that you need, essentially.
And it's the awareness of if you take it away from the 2 defenders who are challenging you, you create space, you draw the goalkeeper out, then you have the opportunity to shoot near post, which is exactly what he does. If he tries to maybe do a step over and create separation in the middle of the box, then he's probably going to be less likely to get that goal. And so I think it's worth praising him for the goal. It's worth praising him for, I think he did have probably better movement than I gave him credit for in that game. He did create the other best chance for the United States, or he at least was the one who ran in and shot and it was saved. But it's still it's good attacking play. Right.
He was a threat. He was there for that Agudelo flick on. Yes. So he was the goal threat.
But it's just still that momentary, he could have played that ball better, and he did play with the outside of his foot behind Benny Feilhaber. Again, we watched that another probably 15 times, and it's still just a little tiny pause for concern.
Yep.
But I think
because Feilhaber's took off, right? And then the ball goes behind him. He has to reach back like Indiana Jones going for his hat and drag it back around in front of him.
Fair analogy, yeah.
So if anything, I think maybe when we started talking about this on Friday night, we were really thinking about praising Benny Feilhaber for sort of making up for some semi-sloppy play from Jordan Morris. I realise as I say that I'm maybe getting emails.
Maybe.
Or at least not smooth, not perfect play from Jordan Morris. That Benny Feilhaber makes look a lot smoother than it was.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And I think, though, another part, which is a little more a view inside my brain and like psychoanalysis and whatever. So
I'm looking forward to
bear
this.
with it. Well, it's essentially that I feel with Bruce Arena being appointed, I think you and I were pretty positive on Bruce Arena coming in, just given the last 5 years. I know there are a lot of people out there who really did like what Jurgen Klinsmann was doing. They think it was more the players' fault than it was Jurgen's that the results weren't going the team's way. Mm-hmm. They felt like maybe he was hard done by both the team and U.S. Soccer.
Klinsmann.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so I am not of that mind, but I am aware that many people are. And so I think because we, by the end, and I'll speak for myself here, I think because I was very critical of Jurgen Klinsmann at the end of his tenure.
I was with you after Costa Rica 4 USA nil.
And because of that, though, I feel like this weird need to be overly critical of Bruce Arena, I think. Because
there's some bias.
Yeah, just because I want to be like, if this were Jurgen Klinsmann, how mad would I be? And the answer is, if that had been a Jurgen Klinsmann team, I would have been really angry. But the reality of the situation is that this is a U.S. team having been coached by Bruce Arena for 2 months, 2 games. That other team was U.S. coached by Jurgen Klinsmann for 5 years. And I think that has to be brought up and mentioned. It's that, like, maybe Bruce Arena does deserve benefit of the doubt because it's 2 games and it's the January camp, and that's it. If it continues and it's sloppy and people still don't know quite their responsibilities, then maybe the criticism will mount a little bit more. But I think that's where sort of some of my innate negativity, because I think we tend to be pretty positive, and in this game I think both of us were a little more negative, and I think partially that's where it comes from for me.
No one's going to say that game against Jamaica was some magnificent, overwhelming display by the USA against Jamaica's B team, right? So there's no way you can spin that whole game as a net positive.
Right.
I think one of the things I was getting at is, yes, it kind of was a great goal, or an exciting goal to watch that we scored, but it also was kind of, everyone was a little off tempo, and a little like Morris's pass was behind, and it was a little sloppy, and it kind of represented the US performance in that way. Like, good enough, and it got the job done, but nothing to get too excited about.
Right, and I think that the people who have written in to be a bit more positive, or to kind of remind us that it's 2 games, have made
so many people that we can't name them.
And they've made the point though that it's 2 games into the January window. You're figuring out what players can do. You're getting January camp. 2 games into Arena's tenure, you're figuring out who can do what. You're playing players in positions that they are more or less accustomed to, comfortable with. You're adjusting from, okay, the 1 up top didn't work, let's try 2 up top. Like, there are these little adjustments that point to progress. I just think in that moment, in that evening, we both expected. I mean, look back at our preview show where I think we both were very confident about what Arena would do and about who he would start.
We thought Nagby, Bradley, Altidore, we thought they'd all be on the field to start. Right?
And so when they weren't, I think we were both sort of like, what? Like, what's going on here? And we have to remember that it's a new team with a new coach that are experimenting and trying to figure out what works the best. And
I don't know if we addressed this on the show. I'm now starting to think of the game against Serbia was practice for the March World Cup qualifier. The game against Jamaica was kind of practice or an experiment with one eye on the Gold Cup, which we assume now will be a sort of like not quite A team. You know what I mean? So it was like giving guys like Walker Zimmerman a run out to see, or Agudelo even, to see if they're ready for the Gold Cup in the summer.
So I mean, so it's worth remembering that, and then it's worth remembering that. No matter what we talk about with the U.S. national team, we're going to hear about Michael Bradley.
All right. So we also got a lot of sort of the negative version of Michael Bradley.
And to be fair, that's because I asked for it. I'm not trying to be like critical and say, like, oh, no matter what, people are going to be mad. We said, like, I want to know specific reasons why people think Michael Bradley isn't as good or shouldn't be in this team. Because again, a lot of times we get, he's really slow, or he's not up to the level, or he's not like at the international caliber that he used to be, or he's too old, or whatever. And I wanted to hear specific moments or specific plays that gave people pause for concern. And
we did, right? We got some good tweets with specific moments in there. I can't remember if we got any emails, but we did get people contact us and say, there was this and this and this. And I think where I come down is, yes, I get it. He's not perfect. There are certain times when you wish he would do a better job defensively. I mean, even going back to like the Mexico game where he didn't tackle Dos Santos properly is like the first example that comes to mind. I think our stance is we understand that he is not a perfect footballer, but he is the best number 6 the United States has. He is the captain of the United States. He is, unless suspended or I want to say more than 30% injured, is going to start for the US national team in big games. So we are not going to indulge the idea that Michael Bradley should be dropped. We're not going to indulge the idea that Michael Bradley should be forcibly retired from the US national team. We will have the conversation about like what's he good at, what's he not so good at, how do we best use him. I don't want to waste time talking about getting rid of him, because who else would play there is the question.
And I think I'll say this, like, I think we kind of got accused by some elements of being like Michael Bradley fanboys and Michael Bradley apologists. I like Michael Bradley. I think he's a good player. I respect what he's done in his career for the most part.
I like his beard consistency recently.
And I think he has the courage to rock the shaved head. I think he recognized that he was probably going Costanza and made the best.
He went early actually. When you look at you can see the stubble hairline. Like I feel like he could easily get away with saying, "Yeah, there's my hair."
I feel like he was about in that situation when he was like 16.
Okay.
But either way, I mean, and so like, but I don't like him enough that I'm always going to defend him. I don't think I don't think there is a player like that for me. Like really, even like my favorite Man United players, I will still be like, oh, that wasn't good, or oh, he shouldn't have done that, or oh, he might be past it. And the same goes for the U.S. national team.
I might be like that with Ross Barkley. We'll talk about that later.
I'm aware of that enduring affinity. And so what I mean with that is that I agree with you that we're going to talk about him in the games he does play. If he has a good game, we'll talk about it. If he does some stuff bad or some stuff well, we'll talk about that. But what I don't want to be is like morphing into a sports radio talking head. He's the best midfielder there is in the United States.
Yeah. Well, I'd have to then say he's the worst midfielder right now.
Exactly.
We're going to lose with him.
Exactly. And that's where I think I agree with you.
A cowbell or like a,
exactly. Just lots of sound effects, awoogas and lasers and whatnot, and a duck for some reason, a la Sonny. But I just don't want to go down that road because I think you're right that then it distracts from focusing on everything else that's happening with the team. Because I think you're right that he is going to continue to start for the U.S. national team. If there comes a time when there are other players who are capable of doing that role on a consistent basis, then it's another conversation. If they're pushing him and forcing him up his game, or forcing Bruce Arena to ask some questions, then I think it's a different conversation. But right now, it's not.
I think that would be good for the US national team if there was a competitor for that spot. Yeah. And I think also that's why the criticisms and praise of Jordan Morris are more interesting to me because he's someone who is by no means guaranteed a starting spot, but he's someone who could make a play for a starting spot. So it's worth having those discussions about whether Jordan Morris starts or does not start for the US national team and in what position, as a forward, as a wide player. So we got a lot of people also ask, what's your lineup for March for the big game against Honduras? Not the big game that happened on Sunday. And I think it's maybe too early to start saying that, but we will definitely get into that over the next, 5-6 weeks. We will let you know our preferred lineup. I'll tell you now, mine has Michael Bradley at number 6.
As does mine. Mine doesn't have Jonathan Demme because I think he's the most overrated player in all of the United States.
Hot take.
I'm just saying that just to be inflammatory. I don't really believe that.
Someone's halfway through a tweet.
I know, right?
Delete.
I don't mean that at all. I love me some Darlington.
All right, shall we move over to the English Premier League?
Sure.
Some big stuff happened this weekend. Let's start with Chelsea's 3-1 win over Arsenal. It puts their lead at the top of the Premier League table to
9 points.
9 points.
And then they're ahead on goal difference over Tottenham, I believe it is. Chelsea have plus 34, Tottenham plus 30.
Okay, and what is the weight and muscle differential between Eden Hazard and Coquelin?
It was reminiscent of a Leo Messi run in the sense of it was like that kind of like smaller player who's just packed full of muscle and a low center of gravity, just cutting and shredding a defense.
It reminded me of maybe some of the first third of Snatch, where Brad Pitt's boxer is going up against some unsuspecting opponents who are like, I can take this guy. Oh no, I can't.
Yeah, except in that one, he's like the bare knuckle boxer who can knock people out with one punch, and this would be the equivalent of like if he could just rabbit punch people to death. Because that's pretty much what it was. It was just dribble, ride a challenge, ride another challenge, dribble, beat somebody, shoot, score.
So to go with another Guy Ritchie movie, he's actually, Eden Hazard in this dribble and goal was actually more like Sherlock Holmes in the Guy Ritchie movie.
Yes.
You know when he plans out, first I'm going to punch him, then I'm going to
That is a much more appropriate analogy, yes.
And it's going to end with a sort of chip over Peter Cech.
And especially because I do have this, I know they don't, but I kind of have this belief that like super world-class players do have this ability to like slow down time, like he's going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to go there. And it kind of looked that way because like even just the little feints Hazard does as he enters the box where he kind of sizes up exactly what Koscielny is doing and wants him, Hazard, to do, and then does the exact opposite to throw Koscielny off to create space to then be able to kind of take that extra touch, get that shot off, get that goal.
Yeah, so if we rewatch this, right? And if you haven't seen this goal, I recommend going back and watching it. Do we need to talk about the Coquelin Hazard
I think we need
mismatch?
I think we need to talk about Coquelin only because it's like you know, like when the goal goes in off the underside of the bar and it like hits the bar and goes straight down and goes back up, and it's got that like very dramatic oomph to it as a result. This run has all the more dramatic oomph because Coquelin comes flying in and then gets knocked off the ball a little bit, gets kind of like that hit from Hazard,
spun around, right?
And then because he's running so fast, he gets that spin. It forces him to the ground, so he kind of like he hits the ground hard, and it makes it look all the more impressive because it's just like no, thank you.
Maybe there's like a mini tornado in the stadium that just spun him around.
His name's Eden Hazard, yeah.
No one else knows about his name. Okay. There should have been a hazard warning.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, so then you were talking about how he essentially, his hips knocked Coquelin to the floor.
His hips did lie.
I think his hips did lie to Koscielny and sent Koscielny the wrong way and opened up some space for Hazard.
Yeah, because he opens up, he like feigns as though he's going to take another touch inside.
Yeah.
But he does the the world-class ability of opening up his hips and then looking like he's going to strike the ball, but instead he like switches at the last second and it just becomes another step in a run. So
he buys himself enough space on the outside by fooling Koscielny to think he's going inside. Then he's like, oh, you give me that, I'm going to take that.
Yep. Yeah. And then is able to finish well and put it far post. I think it's like a combination chip. I can't tell if he hits it into the ground. It's an interesting finish that's a little bit confusing, but it's a very well taken finish for sure.
Is that maybe one of the signs of a world class player? The fact that you can fake that you're going one direction enough to fool Koscielny without actually making that much of a movement towards it. You know what I mean? It's more like an economy of body language. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to go the full step over or the full lean one way.
Yeah.
You just shimmy your hips a little bit and Koscielny will buy it.
I think it's...
And Koscielny will buy it, who's a great defender, right?
But I think it's that for sure. But I think it's also that combined with the idea that like he is always in control. Because we've both seen those runs.
He's planned it out like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, there you go. But we've both seen those runs. I feel like I've had those like once or twice in my career. And it's sort of like, I totally meant to do that. And it was just more like, no, I just put my head down and kept dribbling and kind of got lucky. And we've seen other players do that.
Seen that. Yeah. I'm sure I'll be seeing that in a month or so.
Yeah, probably. And then we see, but you see that at professional level too, that there's a guy who just kind of puts his head down, rides a challenge, rides another challenge, then does a step over. And in this situation, there's so many little tiny things that Hazard does to fool defenders, to ride challenges, to get away from defenders, that you realize just how quickly he's able to read things and react to things. Yep. And it makes it, again, all the more impressive.
Truly, he is the Robert Downey Jr. of Belgian dribblers.
Yes. And then I guess maybe if you're going with a villain who gives away his plan too readily or telegraphs what he's trying to do, maybe that's Petr Cech.
Okay, which terrible villain would he be? Probably Dr. Evil?
Just any Sherlock Holmes villain who does the monologue and tells exactly what's going to happen. I guess that's more of a James Bond trope than it is Sherlock Holmes. But I'll put it this way. Frequently in Sherlock Holmes, the villain is someone who thinks they're so clever that no one else can figure out what they're doing. Yeah. And they become overly elaborate, or they think they've gotten away with it, and they end up getting caught as a result. And that's what happens here, because the ball comes back. It's a throw-in from Arsenal.
I think Gabriel throws it to Petr Cech.
And it's a good pressuring run from Diego Costa to kind of force Petr Cech into making a decision. The decision he makes is to try like a weird chipped bending ball around Costa. I think he's
trying like a left-footed sort of instep pass to Koscielny, which would have avoided. It would have either gone over Costa or bent slightly around him.
Yes,
but he just gets his leg in the wrong direction. Essentially.
Yeah, and then let me be the 1 millionth person to make the joke about or maybe he just thought Cesc Fabregas was still on his team because instead of passing it to Koscielny, it goes more or less straight to Cesc Fabregas. Who
did they ever play together?
I'm assuming they must have at some point.
I can't remember if those transfers cross over or not.
Probably not. No, they definitely wouldn't have, because Cech would have been at Chelsea, because that's only a couple years ago. You're right. Never mind. But maybe then it was just like, I don't know, he wanted to, be buddies or something. Who knows?
Which definitely, if you'd heard that Fabregas scored on Petr Cech a few years back, you would think Arsenal scored against Chelsea.
Yeah,
not the other way around.
There may be a 1 year overlap at Chelsea.
Maybe.
But
let's not get bogged down in
That's not. Instead, let's focus on the fact that it's, I think, 2 touches from Fabregas. It's one to settle, and then it's a sort of like chip but with good velocity on it that it's just, and it's hit so well. I still don't fully understand the mechanics of this, but it looks as though he's missed it only because it looks like it's hit one of the boards behind the goal and popped back out, because he scores and it just hits the net and comes straight back out. It ends up like rolling to the top of the 18 again. That's the velocity that he hits it with. So it's really well struck, and it's a very embarrassing moment for Petr Cech.
Quick thinking. Fabregas not keen to celebrate either, which I thought was nice, because the game was kind of over, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the other goal? Not the Arsenal goal. Nice header from Giroud, but 93rd minute and 3-1. The opening goal is from Alonso, who in many ways sort of represents Chelsea this season.
Yes, and I would say first off, every time I see him, still I think Xabi Alonso signed for Chelsea. Takes me a minute. Yeah, but I mean, it sort of is that. On the day, the willingness to kill versus the willingness to react, I guess, because it comes from the ball in that Diego Costa gets ahead to. I think Petr Cech gets a hand to it. Either way,
definitely, yeah.
Cannons off the crossbar, goes straight up in the air, comes back down. Alonso adjusts, meets it, heads it home.
I feel bad for Bellerin because he challenges hard twice for the header and loses twice.
He does.
It's not really his fault either time because he's done his...
No.
In fact, the Alonso goal, I think Alonso...
Alonso
whacks him in the face.
Well, they're both coming in with high velocity, and it's not as though Alonso throws out an elbow, but it's basically the way you jump, you have your elbows out. It's the natural body mechanics, and so there is a collision there. And because they're both coming at force from different angles, it then makes Bellerin hit the ground hard, and I think hits his head. Looked a little bit out of it for a while. It didn't move for a minute. And so it's definitely a rough challenge. I think it would also be rough to blame any of that on Petr Cech because even though the ball goes way up in the air and it seems like he would have time after saving it to get back up and be ready, in reality, it's a reactionary save that he just barely is able to get a hand to, the Diego Costa header.
Yeah.
And it ends with him sprawled on his back. That's not an easy way to pop right back up.
But isn't there so many times we've praised keepers for somehow making the best of that situation with having crazy core body strength and not ending up on your back, being able to kind of brace yourself and pop straight back up and be ready to go?
And I think
is this just Petr Cech getting older?
No,
Petr Cech,
no, because I think the difference here is that I would agree with you if it were...
I'm prescribing some sit-ups for him.
That's fine. We'll see who can pop up back faster between the two of you. I would say that the difference here is that if it was a shot that he had hit the ground to save and then pop back up, and then it was another shot, it would be different. The reality is it's a header that he's then sprawled on his back, has to pop up, and then it's another header that he has to split second make the decision, do I challenge for that header as well, or do I try to react to it? Yeah. And I honestly think he correctly determines there's no way he's going to win that. He's going to try to come off his line, and then it makes it an easier header for Alonso. See, I wanted to say Xabi Alonso. And so I think in that moment, he has to just stay on his line. If it was just another shot and a rebounded shot, then maybe he can make that reaction save really quickly.
Any blame on any Arsenal defenders? I think first watch we were looking at Theo Walcott, for example.
I still think Theo Walcott definitely shoulders some of the responsibility here.
Why so?
Because he spots that Alonso's making that run before Alonso's even in the box, and he kind of closes him down, and then they make an X almost. Then Walcott runs to the far post as that Costa header comes in, and that allows Alonso to run in and get that header. And so I feel like Walcott should have spotted the fact that there's a Chelsea player wide open running towards goal, and maybe it's not the best idea just to cover a post.
So my take, at least on the Alonso header, is that he saw Bellerin going up for it, and Walcott thought, I'm not going to go and get involved and make that messy. I'm going to basically trust Bellerin wins it, and then I'm alone on the right wing here.
I see.
You know what I mean?
Okay. But, isn't that still sort of preparing to attack as your team is being attacked?
Yeah, but also if he just dove in there, then maybe he knocks Bellerin over, or you know what I mean?
Or he knocks Alonso off of his run.
Yeah, that's also possible.
Although maybe that's a penalty. Who knows?
And actually, it all goes back and back and back because I can't remember who crosses the ball. I'm sorry, but it's Victor Moses puts the ball down the line, and Koscielny has to shuffle over all the way to the left, right? He goes far out left back territory.
I think it's Willian. I could be wrong.
And that's when everybody has to sort of start shifting over and over and over. And that's why, in the end, there's basically not enough defenders to get it done.
It's good. Yeah. It's good attacking runs from Chelsea to keep everybody moving, to keep Arsenal having to adjust, and then to keep players finding space.
All right. Well, congratulations to Chelsea. That's an impressitive win. They deserve to be top of the league. I think me saying that Liverpool were going to take it from them in January, February is not looking so good right now.
I think between the two of us, our Premier League final predictions were yours was that Liverpool would challenge. Did you say that they would win? Or did you say they would just challenge?
I said Liverpool will win the Premier League.
And mine was that it will be a relatively boring title race. And right now, Chelsea 9 points ahead with a better goal difference. It looks like that could be the case.
Well, I didn't know Joel Matip would invoke bad karma by refusing to go to the Africa Cup of Nations.
You're going to put all that evil on him?
Someone up there was like, all right, well, we're going to make Cameroon win it, even though you don't think they will, and we're going to not let you win many games while they're there.
Yeah, and even when he returns, it doesn't go well. Not Matip.
Mane played against him, right?
Sadio Mane returns. We all kind of thought, or you and I thought at least, that was a big component that was missing. Yeah. That would change things immediately. And instead, Liverpool endeavored to lose 2-0 to Hull City.
All right. Elsewhere in the Northwest, we've got to talk Romelu Lukaku. But I think before we do, let's take a break to let you know about today's sponsor.
I'll allow it.
Today's sponsor is SeatGeek. SeatGeek has come along and created an amazing app and website that makes it easier than ever for fans to buy and sell tickets.
You said easier. SeatGeek is designed to make life easier for sports and music fans. SeatGeek does all the price comparison for you by searching multiple ticket sites and ensuring that you get the best possible deal.
So, yeah, we looked at some deals for the USA-Jamaica game. Those tickets are no longer available because that game is in the past. When we've done 2 reviews on it, it's definitely in the past. But I was looking for soccer stuff in the future, and I found some Portland Timbers games. I thought I'd balance it out. After we talked Jordan Morris earlier, we should talk some Portland. There is a game February 9th, pre-season, Real Salt Lake at Portland Timbers, $5 on SeatGeek for the Nat Borchers Memorial Derby. I just named it that.
I was going to say, I feel like he probably won't be there for preseason, but maybe he will.
We got a reminder that Nat Borchers did not tailor Big Ingrown his beard in Portland. The beard started in Salt Lake.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure you weren't disagreeing with me on that one.
Oh, no, but I'm disagreeing with you now.
Putting that evil on me. And also, we got confirmation that when Nat Borchers last played for the U.S. national team, no beard. So, no caps for Nat Borchers' beard.
2010.
Sadly enough. And then in terms of events to go see, you've gone sports. I'll go music because Ryan Adams is coming to Richmond, and I do love me some Ryan Adams. Daryl says no. But I wouldn't mind seeing him. I wouldn't mind seeing him, cover Wonderwall.
Oh, so my wife actually was really impressed with his cover of the Taylor Swift album.
Oh,
Didn't
yeah.
he just cover a whole Taylor Swift album?
He did.
Yeah.
And
she was like, I didn't realize I liked these songs until Ryan Adams sung them.
Yep. And then I joke about the Wonderwall thing mostly because of the Man City connection. But it is true that I think one of the Gallagher brothers said they will never play that song again because he sang it the way it's supposed to be sung. Yeah.
Oh, so not an insult. It was more like he got it right.
Oh, yeah. He was like, we can't sing it as well as he can. So you should listen to his instead. And he's coming to Richmond. So worth keeping an eye on that event as well.
Well, if you want to get $20 off seeing the Portland Timbers or Ryan Adams or anything else you can find on SeatGeek, you can do so by downloading the SeatGeek app and you get a $20 rebate on your first ticket purchase. Would you like me to tell people how they can do that, Taylor?
Sure, why not?
So first,
you've already halfway done it, but go ahead.
First, you download the SeatGeek app. Then you go to the settings tab and you click add a promo code. You enter the promo code TSS. And once you do that, SeatGeek know that we sent you there. So we get some of the credit as well. It's good. It's good. It looks good for us. It's a good look for TSS.
It is. So download the SeatGeek app and enter the promo code TSS today.
And then you get $20 after you've made your first ticket purchase.
So, with that said, shall we move on to some more goal scoring?
Yeah, Romelu Lukaku. There's so many goals to talk about. We can't go through his goals one by one. Right?
We cannot.
This is Everton beat Bournemouth 6-3. Romelu Lukaku got 4 goals, 1 assist. He is now the leading scorer in the Premier League with 16 goals.
It's a tight race, though. It's a tight race up there.
I think this was the most requested thing via Twitter, was just to talk about Romelu Lukaku.
And we shall. Because, I don't know if you know this, Daryl, but he's good. He's good.
He certainly is. I think one way we thought to do this was we watched the goals and the assist multiple times, and maybe just we wanted to frame it as a kind of complete performance.
Yep.
Because any technical skill that you think a striker should have, any attribute you think a striker should have, somewhere in those 4 goals, 1 assist, 6-3 win, Romelu Lukaku showed it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you've got the ability to dribble at pace, which is what he does. To set up plays, the ability
Which one's that, then?
To go at defenders. I would say his assist for
McCarthy.
Because basically he has really good footwork to get by defenders, but he has that very rapid acceleration to once he's by to get away.
He's got the wriggles between 2 defenders and then finds a really nice pass to McCarthy at the top.
Which I'll say is not something that I'm used to saying about Romelu Lukaku because he is so big. I think of him more as that kind of Didier Drogba power and speed and strength to get by and to win headers.
I think not to disrespect Didier Drogba, right? Because Didier Drogba at his peak could do basically anything you wanted him to.
Yeah, pretty much.
More like anything he wanted to. But because we thought of Lukaku as a Drogba replacement because Chelsea bought him semi-young, and he was called the new Didier Drogba. People framed it that way. You start thinking of him as a sort of battering ram kind of player, right? So it's always interesting to see these extra facets and the extra things that he can do.
And then, and even once he creates that separation, he plays that ball across the box, he picks out his target, which I think it ends up going to a different target, and it kind of bobbles around the box.
McCarthy has a shot that then bobbles, and McCarthy gets his own rebound.
But then he's got a good celebration. You want that in a goal scorer as well, in that he just stands there stock still.
Lukaku,
and sort of being like, you didn't mean to do that, but I will celebrate with you anyway. So there's that, but then his inner goal, the first goal is inside the first minute, and I think we timed it from the time Everton. It's high pressure from Everton, and from the time they win it back.
Schneiderlin steps and passes to Lukaku immediately.
Yeah, it's basically they force Bournemouth into a bad pass, like a bad centering pass that is intercepted by Schneiderlin. And from the time he touches the ball, because it's a first-time pass into Lukaku, it's 5 seconds, 3 passes, 3 touches from Lukaku and a goal. Because it's basically ball into Lukaku. It's a 1-2 between Lukaku and
McCarthy.
Is it McCarthy again? Yeah, and then gets the ball back, has a really nice touch, another touch, then he hits it, bending ball into the side netting.
And we've got to say, like, if we were talking about the Fairharbour Morris goal and the way it wasn't quite as smooth as we wanted it to be, and I feel bad like criticising it, but when you compare it to this exchange between Lukaku and McCarthy, this is more fast, and it's exactly everyone's putting the ball exactly where they want it to go.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, and it's also like the ability to read what's happening and to be able to kind of like combine really well with McCarthy, who it's worth noting he does the dribble away from Lukaku and then play with the outside of his foot back.
He goes left, leans left, takes all the defenders to his left, but then plays the ball outside of the foot right. Yeah, and it just gives Lukaku that extra bit of space. And then I think Lukaku needs even more space. Does so with just a tiny touch out left, and then bang, left foot.
Yep.
So here's the other attribute we get from Lukaku, shooting from distance. Because that's basically top of the box, hit hard, unstoppable.
Yeah, absolutely, because it's got that really vicious bend on it. So it bends just around the goalkeeper, then bends into the side netting. Then for his second goal, I believe it was, maybe less like raw goal scoring ability and more poaching, because isn't that the one that where the defender centers it and it basically passes it straight to Lukaku?
It's a decent, I want to say decent pressure from Everton. I think Lookman is putting pressure on Francis, the Bournemouth defender, but it's not enough pressure that you should really be concerned. I think Francis just kind of panicked. I think Francis thinks he's passing it to Lewis, but he's actually passing it to Romelu Lukaku, who is sort of almost in the 6-yard box. So if we're going to add to his list of attributes, I'm going to add invisibility cloak.
Well, I'll say this. Though, and being totally honest, getting that ball inside the 6-yard box, it's still harder than you would think to score, just because you usually don't get that ball squared to you by the opposition player. So
you think fast, right?
It does require you, to have that kind of like.
There's no time to make the Sherlock list.
You gotta flip that switch and be like, okay, goal scoring right now. And it's the calmness with which he takes a touch, finds a spot, finishes the ball.
Doesn't he goes like right foot, drags it to his left, pulls the keeper out, and then sort of gets it inside that near post?
I believe so. So again, it's very intelligent, quick thinking from Lukaku.
Speaking of quick thinking, can we talk about, does he score this goal? Yeah, I think he does. I've got the wrong goal, but I'm going to talk about this one anyway. The one that ends up being the back heel from Ross Barkley. I think Lukaku challenges for a header, doesn't quite win it, but it drops to Barkley, they exchange passes, and then Lukaku's through on goal. The thing I like the most is the first time like sweeping pass into Barkley's feet and then running off of him for Barkley to play what I want to say is a really optimistic back heel. I don't want to give Barkley too much credit, almost. It's more that Lukaku's strength and running is what gets him beyond the last two defenders.
Clearly the Richmond Fire Department not pleased. There are clearly Bournemouth fans. They don't want to hear us talk about this anymore. But I think we do have to talk about the, I believe, final goal in this game, just because it seems to have been one of your favorite goals in recent memory.
So, I want to talk about the Ross Barkley goal. This is Ross Barkley going around the keeper, celebrating before he scores and then scoring. And this is one of those weird things where normally, we talked about this at the top of the show, normally I would be against this. I would say this was arrogant. I would say he took too big of a risk because Tyrone Mings it was one step from closing him down. But because it's Ross Barkley and I want him to do well, for some reason I enjoyed this. And I want to just own my hypocrisy and just claim it.
Okay. It's fine. I mean, it's 5-3. It's like the final minutes. It's a breakaway. He's done well to get in the position.
He's in front of his own fans. That's who he's like putting his arms up to. It's Everton fans, not Bournemouth fans.
But I would say, if anything, like maybe it's a little bit arrogant, but I would say the bigger thing is it speaks to the confidence that he has at the moment and the confidence that the team as a whole has. And I think that part of that is because you look at that Everton team on paper, and that is a very, very good team.
Yes. You want to talk about this?
Sure.
It's been a while since you would look at an Everton team and look at the players who come on and look at the bench and be like, oh yeah, there is strength everywhere. So the starting midfield was McCarthy, Barry, and Schneiderlin. And then on the bench, you've got Idrissa Gueye, I think back from Africa Cup of Nations duty.
You got it.
Tom Davies came on, I think was involved in that backheel Barkley to Lukaku goal. Morales came off the bench, Kevin Morales. Phil Jagielka is there. Taylor's checking the bench. Am I forgetting anyone?
Enner Valencia on the bench. Martin Stecklenburg, like former Dutch starting goalkeeper. And then you've got, in terms of youngsters, you've got Mason Holgate also coming on as a substitute. So you've got like young academy players, young exciting players, and then like good squad players, good depth, good veterans. It's a good team.
It makes sense while they were now like, Deulofeu, you can...
Yeah, right?
No,
it really does, because there was a time when I was like, that doesn't make sense. Like,
they need
he's a really good player. They need him. And now you understand, like, no, they can kind of do what they want to do because they've got depth.
And we mentioned the high pressure earlier. It seems like it's really, really working. When they turn it on, it's kind of impossible for Bournemouth to get out. The first goal is exactly that, right? First 40 seconds, they put them under pressure and win it back like that. And then you see the panic that it can create, which ends with the way Francis got an assist for Lukaku's goal.
Yep. And so
I want him credited with an own assist.
You can do that if you want. But so as we said, like, the title race might not be that wide open because it's basically Chelsea and then Spurs 9 points behind. So it'll probably be those two. But in terms of like spots 3 through 6, it's going to be interesting to see what happens because you've got Arsenal, you've got Man City, then you've got Liverpool, United, you've got Everton still in there.
Everton in with a shout.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, just based on the talent as a whole and the consistency with which they seem to be playing, at least at the moment, it's going to be tight at the bottom of the top 4. Which is kind of what I predicted, that the drama on the final days was going to be like the race for the fourth spot.
Yeah.
And it's going to be sort of that as opposed to the race for the title.
Shall we pivot away from the Premier League and to the future?
Sure.
In the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network.
I'll allow it.
We have, 6 young players that we've got updates about today, thanks to the fine people doing excellent work in the TSS Scouting Network, keeping an eye on up-and-comers for us.
Indeed. Do you want to go first or second, Mr. Grove?
I will go second.
All right. Up first, we've got Harry Needham scouting Jonathan Tah, the 20-year-old centre-back for Leverkusen. Harry says, Tah started and went the full 90 in a 1-0 loss to Bobby Wood's Hamburg. The only goal came when Leverkusen loanee, Kyriakos Papadopoulos, scored from a header off of a set piece. The bad news, aside from being scored on by a player you loaned out, was that Jonathan was pretty much totally at fault for the goal. He jumped too early to block the header, allowing Papadopoulos to score the goal. Harry says, I don't believe this will affect Tah's starting place. However, it clearly does not help his stock.
So we'll say, when I said I will go second, I didn't know that defender's name was in there, but well done to you.
Thank you.
For getting
I appreciate that.
Up next, Carl Gertz is scouting Zach Clough, the 21-year-old Nottingham Forest striker. He just moved there, I believe. Zach Clough is English. Carl Gertz says Zach Clough made his Forest debut on Saturday. He started and played 87 minutes in Forest's 2-1 win over Villa. The victory was a thriller, with Forest's 17-year-old forward Ben Burton scoring the game winner in the 93rd minute.
Yeah, we might have to add him.
Yep.
Might have to add him to the Scouting Network. If there's any people out there with itchy feet who are Nottingham Forest fans, let us know.
Oh, sorry. People have emailed with itchy feet recently looking for their scouts. I'm sorry, I meant to get to it over the weekend. Didn't get a chance. We'll get to it this week, I promise.
No excuses, Daryl. Play like a champion. Assign like a champion. Up next, we've got Richie Garcia scouting Emerson Hyndman, the 20-year-old American midfielder at Rangers on loan from Bournemouth. Maybe they could have used him this past weekend. Emerson started for Rangers in their 1-1 draw with Ross County. He was deployed in a deeper role at the center of a 4-3-3, and Richie thinks that the intent was to have him set up plays and trigger the offense.
He could be the next Michael Bradley.
Maybe. Well, he is the future of the men's national team, according to you. In actuality, that plan resulted in Emerson having fewer touches since Rangers had the ball for long stretches in Ross County's final third. He did still do well to move the ball in tight spaces and got more aggressive in his attacks late in the game, particularly in regards to his forceful runs forward.
So, top of my head, I know Rangers were 25 points behind Celtic in the SPL title race. Assuming Celtic won this weekend, so that is now 27 points.
Yeah, it's probably not much of a title race there either, but you never know. You never know. Just kidding. You definitely do know that. I feel like you also went second in this because all of your reports are shorter, but I'll take it.
Michael Fisk is scouting Andreas Christensen, the 20-year-old Danish centre-back for Gladbach on loan from Chelsea. Michael says Andreas continues to be a crucial member of Borussia Gladbach's first team, starting and playing the full 19 Gladbach's 2 previous wins over Leverkusen, 3-2, and Freiburg, 3-0.
Up next, Carolyn scouting Kellen... What?
I was just excited for Kellen Acosta.
I was like, what did I do wrong?
I wanted to hear what was happening because he got left out of the January camp. Right? No, he injured, had to leave January camp,
Scouting Kellen Acosta, the 21-year-old American midfielder for FC Dallas. Acosta obviously was not with the USMNT for their friendlies, but he is traveling with FC Dallas for an 11-day preseason trip starting today. Acosta retweeted a text chat with one of his friends who complained that this is what happens every time I try to hang out with my brother, Kellen Acosta. The chat reads as follows. Friend, what are you doing Monday? Acosta, I'm going out of town. Friend, where? Acosta, Argentina. Friend, what?
All caps. What?
Yeah. It's good news that Acosta is traveling with the team, and presumably his mild ankle sprain will be fully healed soon. FC Dallas is expected to play 5 or 6 matches while in Argentina, so Carolyn will keep an eye on him when exactly he returns to action.
Okay, come on, Kellen Acosta. Another possible US men's national teamer. I want to see him on that Gold Cup roster. How about that?
I like that. And finally, I would say one of the top 5 most exciting players in the Scouting Network right now, I think.
Tyler Dunaway is scouting Gabriel Jesus, the 19-year-old Brazilian forward for Man City. So Gabriel Jesus started and went the full 90 minutes for Man City against Swansea City, says Tyler. He scored both goals in the 2-1 victory, with the second coming 4 minutes into stoppage time. I forgot to hit record on the game, so I only saw the highlights, but he had 4 or 5 good chances in the highlights I saw. I am... not surprised that Gabriel Jesus is doing well. I'm surprised that he's already scoring last-minute winners. That seems like next season things you should be doing.
Yeah, but it pointed to the confidence he has. It pointed to like his predatory nature, that he like pounced on the opportunity, and it points to the confidence that maybe Pep Guardiola has in him, because Sergio Aguero did not start this game. Came on as a sub. He missed a decent chance at a goal late in the second half. It was like a header. He did well to get on the end of, but he still put it wide, and he probably should have put it at least on frame. Whereas Jesus comes in, scores 2 goals, is off to a flying start in his Man City career.
I heard he pulled the trigger until it went click. If you would like to join the Total Soccer Show Scouting Network, then you will be supporting the Total Soccer Show, helping us to create more and more shows. You can do so by going to totalsoccershow.com/subscribe. All the information is there. Become part of the Scouting Network.
These are facts.
These are facts. Also, another fact is, on Goalmouth this week, we are running a contest for a Who Are You Designs t-shirt. All you have to do is listen to Goalmouth this week. I'll put a link in the show notes. You click that link, it'll show you all the subscribe options for Goalmouth, our other podcast. Soccer news with a smile every morning.
You do that. Hermano.
Until tomorrow, when Taylor will be talking to Tamale about the Africa Cup of Nations, it is goodbye from Taylor and I. And I'll close by saying, Taylor Rockwell, thank you for taking the time to talk to me today.
Right back at you, buddy.
Listeners, thank you for listening. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.